Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. This is lesson number 16. If this is your first time joining, my name is Shane and I have my son Nicholas with me.
Hello.
I also have my daughter back there at her computer hiding. Say hi, Jai.
Hi.
So, this is the Easter weekend. So, we celebrate Easter. If you do too, we just wanted to quickly say happy
Easter.
Easter. So, let's go ahead and get started. We are going to go over in this lesson the button element. We're actually going to make our task list form look a lot better, have more shape to it, more color, make it look a little prettier. So, are you ready to get started, buddy?
Yeah.
How about you, Jai? You ready?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. Let's go ahead and get started. If you look on your desktop, you should have a Coding Zoo folder. Go ahead and open that folder. I've already got it open myself. I'm going to go now to the task list.html and I'm going to choose edit with Notepad++. And we're going to try a new coloring scheme here today. So hopefully this is not too bad. You guys can still see it well. If not, drop me a comment. Let me know. Okay, you ready to get started, guys?
Yes.
All right, cool. Jai, you ready?
Yes.
All right, so go ahead and scroll down to the end of our form there. We're going to add one more form element. I'm going to put my cursor right above that ending tag. I'm going to tab out. And I'm going to add the HTML element button. So I'm going to go less than, button, greater than, and I'm going to type in the add task. And then I'm going to add my closing tag, less than / button, greater than sign. So now I have a little button there. It says add task. I'm going to click save real quick. I'm going to go down to my Coding Zoo folder, right click on task list.html. I'm going to choose open with Google Chrome. And now you see there is a little bitty button down there called add task. All right, so I'm going to go back to my editor. Okay, I don't quite like the way that button is spaced, but we'll fix that out in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and quickly go back to the top and put your cursor above the form element. Now here we're going to add a line or a border around our form. So let's type in div, so less than, div, and type in id equals, double quote, form dash div, in the double quote, greater than sign. Let's go down to the end of my form. Press enter. Type in less than / div, greater than sign. Oops, greater than sign. Now I'm going to highlight my form here. And just going to tab it out, make the spacing correct. All right, so I now have a div around my form. It's called, it has the ID of form-div. Click save. Go back to my folder. I'm going to go into my CSS folder. I'm going to right click. Choose edit with Notepad++. I'm going to go to the bottom of that style.css and let's add some CSS properties for that div. So I'm going to try to find that div using a ID selector, a name selector. So I'm going to try to find it by its ID. So I'm going to do pound FORM -div, the squiggly bracket, close the squiggly bracket, tab out. Let's add a border. BORDER colon. I'm going to do 1 pixel, 1 px. Just want a small border. I want it to be solid, SOLID. And in my case, I want it to be black. So BLACK semicolon. All right. I'm going to save it. Go back to my browser. Click refresh. And now I have a border around everything. So if you look at my form, it's kind of all scrunched up, especially this add button, the border around it, there's no spacing. So let's go change that. I'm going to go back to my style CSS. Go to the next line in the form div selector. And I'm going to add a little padding, PADDING, colon, space, 10, PX, semicolon. Click save. Click refresh. There we go. So now you can see I've got more space separating this border from the rest of my form. So padding as that internal space with the element and its internal elements. Separates it. All right, so we have a little padding here now. Let's review real quick what we just did. So we have this form-div CSS selector. Now, form-div is the ID of that div we just added. And if we use the pound sign, the pound basically tells CSS to search for an ID that equals whatever's after the pound. So the pound is an ID, our name CSS selector. The period is a class selector if I had class equals on one of those elements. And again, this is just a regular element selector. So those are the 3 types of selectors. And if you check out our CSS building blocks playlist, we have a video there that goes over those selectors. All right, so let's jump back to this page. So one of the things I still don't like about this page is it's still close to the edge here. It's so close. So let's change it one more time. Let's go back to our CSS, go to padding, 10 pixels. I'm going to press enter, and let's add a margin, MARGIN, colon, space, 10, 10 pixels, semicolon. So if you remember, a CSS property is a name, colon, and a value, semicolon. So I've got margin, 10 pixels. Click save. I'm going to go back to my browser. Click refresh. There we go. And so I've got a little bit more space here around that border, right? Now you'll notice also some of my form elements are all, close together, right? So we're going to fix that in a few minutes. I kind of don't like the squared look. So let's change that up a little bit. Let's go back to form-div. Put your cursor after margin, press enter. And let's change the way that looks. Let's change the border. So I'm going to say border, BORDER, dash, radius, RADIUS. So border radius allows you to change the way the corners look. So colon, space, let's do 25, PX, 25 pixels, semicolon. Click save. Back to our browser. Let's click refresh. There we go. So now it's kind of curved. Does that look much better, guys?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. All right. Next, let's go ahead and change the background some. So let's go to the form div, border radius. And again, add a new line. Type in background, BACKGROUN, colon, up, dash, sorry, COLOR, colon. And I've got a specific color in mind. I'm going to type in the hex value for it. So pound F, capital F, 0, capital F, 0, capital F, 0, semicolon. So if you remember in previous lessons, there is an HTML color codes website that you can go to, and it'll list all these colors along with their hex value, RGB value, etc. All right, so click Save, click Refresh, and it's a very close color to what I currently have, so it's hard to tell the difference, but I didn't want to change it up too much. So you guys caught up?
Yep.
Okay.
Wait, is this right?
That is correct. The color changed, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. All right, cool. Okay, so now let's go ahead and work on giving this rest of this form better spacing, better padding, margin, etc. So go back to your CSS, and let's go down, add a new line, and I'm going to do a CSS selector that searches for a particular element. So if you go back to your task list.html, you'll see that all of your form elements we've put inside the field sets, right? So there's different field sets. So let's go back to the style CSS. Let's add a element selector for field set. FIELD-SET, squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket, cursor in the middle. Be sure to tab out correctly. And let's add a margin, MARGIN, colon, space 10 pixels, 10 px, semicolon. I'm going to click Save. And go back to my browser. So watch these field sets closely. I'm going to click Refresh. There we go. Things spread out a little bit there. So you'll notice the field sets spread out. They separated from each other more than they were. So here's one field set. Here's priority field set. Here's category field set. They're not so close to each other anymore. Okay, let's go back. Press Enter. And let's add a little padding within my field set. PADDING, colon. I'm going to do 20 pixels to 0 px, semicolon. Click Save. Go back to my form. Notice how these are, where these are positioned. Notice where these are positioned. Click Refresh. There we go. So there's more padding from between this border and the form elements themselves here. Okay, so I have the padding and margin in my field sets. If you look at these form elements, they themselves, if you look at these form elements inside of the field sets, they are kind of all scrunched up also. So let's fix that. I'm going to go back to my CSS, scroll to the bottom, press Enter, and I'm going to do another element selector. Type in input, INPUT. So I'm going to find all of the input tags. I'm going to type in squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket. Okay, type in. So I'm going to put space around all of my input elements so they space away from each other. Now, when you do space around something, that's margin. When you do space inside of something, that's padding. So I'm going to do space on the outside of something. So I'm going to type in margin, MARGIN, colon, and I'm going to do space 10 pixels, 10 px, semicolon. Going to click Save. Go back to my browser. Now I should see more space between these elements. Let's see. Click Refresh. There we go. So now there's more space between everything. All right. So things are kind of spread out a little bit more now. Now things are spaced out better. We have this border around our field sets. Let's change up the border around each of one of those field sets. Let's change the radius to kind of make those more rounded also. So go back to your CSS, go to your field set selector, add a new line, and let's change the border radius on it. BORDER dash radius RADIUS colon space 25 pixels semicolon. Click save. Gonna go back. Those corners should be more rounded now. Click refresh. There they go. Nice rounded off. Now, one thing I really don't like is the way this legend is formatted here. It's just a word right in the middle of that border. Kind of looks a little odd to me. So I'm going to change that a little bit. Let's go back to our editor. And add a new line there. I'm going to add a CSS element selector for the legend tag. So if you go back to the task list HTML, of course, those words are defined with legend, the element legend. So I'm going to add a selector for that. LEGEND, squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket. Okay, so in our legend tag, let's go ahead and add a border. BORDER colon 1 pixel space solid space. Let's make it black. Semicolon to close it off. Click save. Let's go back to my browser. Now there should be a border around task description here when I click refresh. There we go. Got a border around that. I don't like that it's squared and everything else has kind of got this round theme. So I'm going to go back. Go to legend. Let's change the border radius. BORDER dash RADIUS colon. Let's make it a little bit different than our previous 25 pixels. Let's do 15 pixels and 50 pixels. So I'm basically saying two corners I want to be a border radius of 15 pixels and the other two I want to be a radius of 50 pixels. Add my semicolon. Click save, go back, click refresh. There we go. Check it out. So now they're more rounded. Of course, they're not rounded like the field sets. A little bit different. They're kind of scrunched up, so let's fix that. Let's go back to legend. Add a new line. Do padding. PADING colon. I'm going to add 2 pixel padding on 2 sides, and I'm going to add 10 pixel padding on the other 2 sides. Click save. Click refresh. There we go. So 10 pixels on one side, 2 on the other. 2 up here, 2 up here, 10 over here, 10 over here. That looks much nicer. This field set description kind of needs to stand out in my opinion more. So let's make one more change to it. Back to legend. Just type in background, BACKGROUND dash color, COLOR colon space. Let's do tan. I'm gonna do tan. And keep in mind, you guys can do whatever color you like. You can start with the color I suggest, and then you can change it to whatever color you like afterwards. I'm going to save it. I click refresh. There we go. What do you think, Jai? How's that look right there? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Not too bad. Does this color look okay? Not too bad, right?
Okay.
Looks good, right?
Because you better color.
Peer pressure. Looks good, right?
No.
Okay. I like it. You do the color you want. I think the color looks good. All right, so let's see. Now, there's one more thing that kind of sticks out about our form that I do not like. We've kind of got things more rounded, different shapes. If you look at the button, it's the only thing that's kind of squared off there. So let's go and make one more change here. Actually, we're going to do 2 more quick changes. That'll be the end of our lesson. Let's go ahead and change the button. So let's go back to our CSS. Let's add a element selector for button, button, squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket. Let's tab out there. I'm going to change the background on it also. Background color. Going to make it tan too, T-A-N, semicolon. So background color, colon, tan, semicolon. And I'm going to add padding to it. P-A-D-D-I-N-G, 5 pixel, 10 pixel, semicolon. Let's see how that looks. Okay. Click refresh. All right, so it's a similar color. Let's go back. Let's round it out. Border dash radius colon. Let's do that 25 pixel on our button. 25 pixel semicolon. Click save. Click refresh. There we go. All right. So now we have a nicer looking button there. There's one more thing about the form I'd like to change, and after that, that'll be the end of our lesson. So if you notice, this form field set up here has has 3 different entries, so it takes up the entire space I have here. This field set has 2 entries, and this field set just really has 1 entry so far. We may add more later, but so I kind of hate that these 2 take up an entire line. Let's see if we can't get these 2 field sets to be side by side. So let's go back to the styles CSS, and let's add a class selector called small field set. So class selectors start with a period, small, S-M-A-L-L, dash field set, I-E-L. It's probably not a great name for it. It'll do for now. Small field set, squiggly line, squiggly bracket rather, close squiggly bracket, tab out, and let's change the width. Let's do 40%. 40%. And let's change it to float. If you remember in our previous lessons, the float will cause the div surrounding those field sets to float. Float will cause it to float. L-E-F-T, float left. Going to click save. Now if I click refresh, of course, it's not going to do anything because I haven't assigned this new class. I haven't put it actually on an element yet. So let's go ahead and cut and paste the name of that class selector. Go back to task list. And I've got my field set up here at the top, which is the bigger one. I want to change the priority one. So I'm going to say class, C-L-A-S-S equals, double quote. Put in the name of my class, small dash field set. I'm going to go to the one after that called category. Type in the same thing, C-L-A-S-S equals, double quote, small dash field set, in double quote, click save. So I have the first field set, no class assigned to it, and then I have the other 2 smaller field sets, and I gave them the class small field set. Go back to here, click refresh. There we go. Okay, so after you click refresh, you should see that your 2 bottom field sets are side by side. Some of you guys may even have these 2 field sets kind of float over the first field set. You may also have your add task button kind of float along with those 2 when we don't want it to. So let's go ahead and fix that. So let's go back to our CSS, styles CSS. Go beneath the small field set class selector. Let's add another class selector. So period, class selectors start with period. C-L-E-A-R, we're going to call it clear. and then beginning squiggly bracket, end squiggly bracket. So in our previous lessons, when we used float, we noticed that all elements after the elements you were trying to float would also float, and we had to keep those elements from floating by adding the clear CSS property. So type in clear, CLEAR, colon, and let's type in both. We want to tell all the elements that we don't want to float to not allow floating on both sides. BOTH, put a semicolon, and click save. All right, let's go to our task list.html. Now on this, the button tag is the very next element, the button element. So let's go ahead and put a div around it. So div class equals quote clear, and let's close that div. Less than /div, close that. So I have a div around my button, add task, class equals clear, and then div. You guys caught up?
Yeah.
Click save. Click refresh. Now on mine, the button moved down to the bottom. It's no longer floating anymore. Hopefully if your other divs were floating up higher on this first div, it fixed that issue too. How about yours, Jai?
Yeah.
Did it fix it?
Yeah.
All right. Looks good, huh?
Yeah.
Not bad. So that's it. That's it today, guys. We added a new form element, or rather a button to our page. We're going to use that button to add tasks to our task list. And we changed the look and feel using CSS. We rounded off at the corners on different elements, and we changed the background on different elements. So it looks pretty nice, I think. What do you think, Jay? Not so bad? All right. We hope you enjoy the lesson. Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions or comments, hey, just drop us a message below. We will get back to you. We'd love to hear how we can improve the lessons to help you learn how to program. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click subscribe, click on the bell for notifications, and click that like button. And we appreciate you joining us again. We'll see you next time. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good? Test. All right. You ready to go, buddy? You gotta perk up. You gotta have energy. Here.
Oh.
Rosy cheeks. You have rosy cheeks. Does it hurt? All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us. If this is your first time joining, this is...
I don't mean to say it.
Hey, everyone. Thank that.
Did you not say Happy Easter?
We did. You forgot.
Oh.
Been done.
Are we
I
done?
didn't listen.
What you done?
My phone won't open.
Your phone won't open. You're so busy on the phone.
It won't
You're so busy you can't even tell people out in the world how much you want to wish them a happy Easter.
I was gonna shut the camera.
We love you guys. Happy Easter.
Can you fix my phone?
I can't.
I'm not fixing your phone because you didn't say Happy Easter.
Well,
Hello,
turn
future
on.
dad.
What? Say it now. Say it. I'll fix your phone.
Happy Easter.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you mean it to these people. You really need to mean it. Say it.
Happy
Say-
Easter.
Happy Easter!
Easter!
Yay! All right. I'll fix your phone later.
Oh.